In the spring of 2024, as the election season swept across the United States, a major gala in New York became the backdrop for a moment that would ripple through the cultural landscape. Robert De Niro, one of the last remnants of Hollywood's golden age, had long been known for his sharp remarks about American politics. But on this night, in front of a glittering crowd of artists, philanthropists, and influencers, his words would take on a much greater significance. "This country is at a crossroads," De Niro began, his eyes piercing as he addressed the crowd. "If Trump becomes president again, not just America, but the world will be in danger." His ridiculous and dangerous character reminds me of Mussolini, of Hitler. At first, people laugh, but then, history repeats itself. The words hit like a hammer. The applause from the crowd resonated not just as support for De Niro but as an endorsement of the larger cultural mission he represented. Hollywood had long been the voice of progressive politics, and De Niro's stance was a strong reaffirmation of that. The lights in the room reflected the gravity of his statement, one that would soon echo far beyond the walls of the gala. Within hours, De Niro's words went viral. Clips of his comments flooded social media platforms. People from all sides of the political spectrum began to debate. The Hollywood elite had spoken, but this wasn't just a celebrity giving their opinion. De Niro's words were seen as a statement of moral clarity in a time of uncertainty. Yet, as the internet buzzed with reactions, another voice, a far more polarizing one, was about to rise. The next morning, Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, woke up to the aftermath of the previous night's controversy. Known for his unfiltered and often provocative statements, Musk wasn't one to shy away from a confrontation, especially when it involved free speech and public discourse. He took to X, formerly Twitter, as he often did, to express his thoughts. Trump already served 4 years as president. His policies are nothing like Mussolini or Hitler's. De Niro's comparisons are nothing but cheap propaganda. Musk's tweet immediately gained traction. It wasn't just a rebuttal to De Niro's celebrity-driven stance. It was a statement of defiance against what Musk saw as Hollywood's overreach into political matters. His point wasn't just about defending Trump. It was about challenging the liberal elites who, in his view, lived in a bubble and were disconnected from the realities faced by the everyday American. Several hours later, Musk posted again, this time with more force. "If you want to hear from someone who actually speaks for the people, stop listening to actors living in million-dollar mansions. Listen to the workers, the real Americans, the ones who make this country run." This tweet was a direct challenge to the Hollywood elite. Musk was positioning himself as the voice of the working class, contrasting his tech-driven, freedom-oriented message with what he saw as the insular, elitist politics of the film industry. It wasn't just a political difference, it was a cultural battle. Musk's tweets didn't just fade away. They struck a nerve. De Niro, a longtime figurehead of Hollywood's progressive stance, was now in direct opposition to Musk, the outspoken tech mogul who framed himself as a defender of free speech and the voice of the masses. The media quickly took sides, with De Niro being championed by liberals and Musk being lauded by libertarians and conservatives alike. The divide between the two camps grew as the days passed. The Hollywood elite, led by figures like De Niro, had long been seen as the moral compass of the nation, while Musk, with his libertarian views and radical embrace of freedom of speech, was challenging that authority. But just when it seemed like the battle between De Niro and Musk couldn't escalate further, an unexpected twist occurred. Several weeks later, De Niro appeared on MSNBC for a live interview. The stage was set for him to double down on his previous comments, but there was a noticeable shift. His usual fierce demeanor was now tempered by caution. His voice, once so assured, now carried a hint of hesitation. The host, sensing the change, asked the question everyone was wondering. "De Niro, do you still stand by your comparison of Trump to Mussolini and Hitler, or have you softened your stance?" De Niro, visibly uneasy, responded, "Of course, I still believe Trump's policies are dangerous. But I've realized that perhaps my words have only served to further divide people. I've always spoken my truth, but maybe it's time to choose my words more carefully." This admission was a shock to many. De Niro, the unflinching critic of Trump, now seemed to be reconsidering his tone. Hollywood's elite, who had long stood behind his sharp critiques, were now questioning how far their message should go. Was this a sign of weakness? Or had the backlash caused De Niro to rethink his approach? The true turning point came when De Niro, in a later statement, expressed something that had become increasingly clear. The voice of the people is something I've always respected. But sometimes, the tone we use matters more than the message itself. Meanwhile, Musk's influence continued to grow. His message wasn't just about opposing Trump. It was about a fundamental belief in individual liberty and resistance to what he saw as the overreach of both government and cultural elites. Musk wasn't merely fighting for a political cause. He was positioning himself as the defender of free speech and the American dream. De Niro's softened stance, though it seemed like a personal retreat, was in reality a larger symbol of the shifting culture wars. The elites of Hollywood, once the loudest voices in the political discourse, were now being challenged by a new breed of voices, those who saw the fight for freedom as much more than a partisan battle. The cultural clash between De Niro and Musk wasn't just about the individuals involved, it was about the broader question of who gets to define the American story. Was it the cultural elites of Hollywood who had shaped public opinion for generations, or the upstart voices of tech moguls who were reshaping the way society communicated? And as the conflict continued to unfold, it was clear, America was once again at a crossroads, and the future of its culture, politics, and identity was up for grabs.